It's 1999, just before the next millennium. No one knows the future, and what do we predict then? An apocalypse, flying cars, or vacations to space? Now fast forward 23 years and things are a bit different now. There's nanotech and advanced AI. Technology in the developed world has taken us farther than ever. Do you notice what I said there? Technology in the developed world has taken us farther than ever. And with all these developments, can we ask ourselves, are we truly happy? Are we content with our lives made easier with this technology? Watching international conflicts on our couch and waiting for a late Uber Eats driver to drop off our lunch? We sometimes forget that only a few oceans away are some of the most impoverished developing countries in the world. In some countries, if you stood in the same location 10 or 20 or even 30 years apart, you may not even realize that time has passed by. Let's look at someone's story. His name is Yusuf, and 30 years ago, his father gave him this cart to sell fruit. Today, he will still be selling fruit from this cart to bring food to his family. My father was born in Kenya, and whether it's 2022 or 1974 when he left the country, vendors remain at the same level of business and quality of life. Developing countries that have not developed at the same pace as, say, Canada, are frozen in time. And areas such as sub-Saharan Africa make up 2/3 of the extreme poor, but sometimes we hear good news, where there's a decreasing percentage of those living below the $1.90 poverty line. But what we don't hear is, as the population rises exponentially, the number of individuals in extreme poverty actually has risen. So what if your brother, sister, mother, or father are part of this population in Africa? I'm a Muslim, and service to others, to humanity, giving to charity, or helping others in their struggles is a fundamental ethic in the Quran. And as it says, God advocates justice, charity. It's a way of life, and this ethic of kindness, compassion, and empathy, they're not unique, but they're humanistic values across all faiths and traditions. Citizens across the Western world and beyond are more and more conscious of corporate responsibility and social impact. A 2018 study actually showed that 71% of people will spend more money to support businesses with a positive social impact. And in the past 60 years, $1 trillion have been used in foreign aid to support Africa for international development. Last summer, I volunteered with the Aga Khan Foundation, an agency of the Aga Khan Development Network, AKDN, one of the largest private international development organizations in the world. This agency works to improve the welfare and prospects of people in developing countries, particularly in Asia and Africa. They focus on culture, capacity building, research and education, and more. And their ethical framework mandates a collective focus on improvement of quality of life. And with over 30 countries and thousands of institutions and programs, its complete budget of $1 billion is targeted towards international development. So organizations such as the AKDN employ different strategies for uplifting societies. Let's talk about microfinance as just one example. It's where you lend a small sum of money for a micro-entrepreneur to build their business. Here's Syrian Yusuf. She lost her house and her job during the conflict in Aleppo, Syria. So with an initial loan of about 50,000 Syrian pounds, around 190 Canadian dollars, she started a small pharmaceutical business with her medicine. Her next microloan was about 150,000 Syrian pounds, creating more success and expanding her business to products like cosmetics. She not only improved her household income from 30,000 to 75,000 Syrian pounds, but also improved hers and her family's quality of life, as well as the quality of life and happiness of the general community, as it was the only pharmacy among 10 villages. These stories, this work, it brings happiness to both the beneficiary as well as the benefactor. Microfinance creates jobs and promotes microeconomic growth within a community that has the potential to thrive. It's like a crossroads between 1, the world of business, and 2, international development promoting quality of life. Microeconomies start to grow, infrastructure starts to improve, and more access to leisure time, that developed countries have so much of. This measurable improvement in quality of life occurs because of partners that choose to contribute to self-sufficient poverty alleviation. The point being, there are strategies that bring equity to quality of life beyond ourselves to those in need. And if we take a look at our own lives, how much of our time is spent watching movies or scrolling through 30-second videos on TikTok? This leisure time is not readily available in developing countries where intense labor work is far more prominent just to put food on the table. So instead of leading our lives into an endless abyss of instant fulfillment and material wealth, we too can choose to use our leisure time to place value in sustainably improving the quality of life of the most marginalized communities in the world, and, in doing so, enjoy the thrill of experiencing someone else's happiness. How about the idea that we lead our businesses with a forefront objective of social impact? Or how about as consumers, demand contribution of dedication to social impact from the enterprises that lead the world's markets? You and I can drive enterprises to make this a social norm instead of an exception. Let me ask that we turn our gaze to a company called SomeoneSource, founded by Leila Jana. The company annotates data for AI algorithms to do IT work for companies like Google, NASA, Microsoft, but they're not like any company. Through impact sourcing, they're able to train and build capacity, recruiting those living below the $1.90 a day in developing countries. By creating more jobs and developing skills not easily learned in certain areas, it not only benefits thousands of individuals, but also the quality of life of the general community. We want the modus operandi of social impact to permeate every business in finding this balance between being able to do well, while also contributing to improving the quality of life of marginalized communities. So what would it take for investors to be aware of the importance of development work? And what would it take for the government to issue such a policy that makes such contributions mandatory in support of the marginalized? The Government of Canada, through the Canadian International Development Agency, actually recognizes the importance and moral obligation of citizens to help the marginalized of this world. The leadership in Canada values this ethic. This is why they partner with organizations such as the AKDN to aid marginalized communities. At the end of the day, what we are searching for deep within is to be rich, to be wealthy. Why? Because we wish to be happy. If you think about it, we are solving the underlying problem, the search for happiness. Therefore, I submit to you that the real goal here is happiness. All these struggles, all these ventures, all these initiatives to accumulate happiness. However, that true happiness is the most sustainable form of happiness, one that comes from within. Can you imagine that if you have changed forever the life of this barefooted young boy, how it may contribute to your sense of deep satisfaction? This satisfaction is in fact the same as that of one who is being saved at the borders of Ukraine or the rural areas of Afghanistan where children may be in malnutrition. I have learned from AKDN's chairman, His Highness the Aga Khan, who advises that the best way to improve ourselves is through labor for the welfare of others. If we live a life focused only on ourselves, we will never be happy. Happiness for others is happiness for you. Thank you.